Welcome, dear friends, to the Military Reporter channel. As always, we continue to make a selection of what is happening on the front line. Marines of the 810th Independent Guards Brigade are engaged in fierce battles with AFU units near the Gornal settlement in Kursk region. The video footage shows that the Russian army fighters, having tactical advantage and superiority in reconnaissance means, are methodically destroying enemy positions. Unmanned aerial vehicles under the control of Russian operators are making targeted strikes on AFU equipment and manpower. The destruction of 2 buggies, which were apparently used by Ukrainian fighters for quick maneuvers and the transfer of ammunition, was recorded. A BMP-2 infantry fighting vehicle, presumably covering defensive positions, was also disabled. 1 pickup truck and an American-made M109 self-propelled artillery unit were hit by precision strikes, possibly using corrected munitions. During an aerial patrol in the vicinity of the Lipsy settlement in Kharkiv region, the operator of the Guardia Sever FPV drone uncovered the movement of a group of Ukrainian soldiers in a pickup truck. The drone kamikaze Seversky caught up with the enemy in a matter of seconds. The enemy tried to save himself with an automatic rifle, throwing it in the direction of the drone out of desperation, but this did not save the enemy personnel from being hit by a shape-charged munition, which destroyed the transport together with the enemy's manpower. The video shows footage of a close-range assault on fortified enemy positions conducted by Russian fighters. This is part of an offensive operation where units of the Russian armed forces came close to the defense lines of the armed forces of Ukraine. The battle takes place in difficult terrain. Trenches and camouflaged dugouts dug into the ground and reinforced with would indicate a pre-prepared defense of the Ukrainian side. However, this did not stop the Russian assault group, which, moving under cover, penetrated into the immediate vicinity of the positions. The footage shows how the Russian fighters, showing determination and composure, take turns clearing the dugouts. When approaching enemy shelters, they use hand grenades. First, they throw them inside to neutralize the Ukrainian armed forces soldiers there. After the explosions, a sweep begins. The fighters go inside, check the premises, and if the Ukrainian soldiers remain alive and surrender, they are captured. Some of the opponents, judging by the video, tried to hide or fight back, but were quickly neutralized. In some cases, Ukrainian servicemen, realizing the hopelessness of the situation, raise their hands and go out to meet them, which is recorded on video as the fact of taking prisoners. The assault is carried out methodically, step by step, clearing one shelter, then moving to the next. Special attention is paid to covering each other. Each fighter knows his task, and the coherence of actions indicates the high level of training of the unit. The result is that a fortified section of the Ukrainian armed forces defense line has been captured. The enemy suffered losses, some of the fighters were captured, equipment and defensive structures are under the control of Russian forces.
Прикрывай меня, блядь. Патроны берегите! Пулемет сюда, ко мне! Быстрее! Смотрите, здесь растяжка, аккуратно! Тише. Сдавайся, осел! Убивать не будем! Он на норе сидит! Видишь его? Нет! Нарад! Тащи бутылку! Вылазь или тебе пизда. Вы лучше вылези. Мы тебя живым оставим, отвечаю. Или сейчас гранатами закидаем. Экономь! Вылазь нахуй, еще кину такую. И тебе... Есть норы?
Dear friends, if the video is interesting to you, support it with a like and subscribe to the channel to not miss new releases, and to be informed, click on the bell. Thank you for watching, and we will continue.
Готовый? Пацаны, надо накатывать, заряжайтесь. Да. Ой, тут сдох хуй. Смотри, БК у них есть. Гранаты, может.
A fox cub has snuck into the Russian fighters' blindage. Even wild animals know that the Russian fighters are kind-hearted and reach out to them.
На выход.
Fascinating travels of FPV drones on the fiber-optic fiber of the center group across the vast steppes of Donbass. During the travels, a huge amount of Ukrainian armed forces equipment was burned and more than a dozen Ukrainians were killed. Russian Army's Lancet drone accurately lands on a moving Ukrainian Grad S. Oskol-Gut. Russian soldiers moved in as a group to inspect an enemy stronghold. The destroyed dugout was still smoking and burning. There were still a few more sites left. Everyone dismantled their sectors and stood at the entrance to the enemy dugouts. Two fighters began to work and methodically dismantle each of them in turn, throwing grenades and shooting. As it turned out later, all the dugouts were empty. Mortar fire, drone support, and an artillery raid with the destruction of one of the dugouts did their job. The enemy chose not to wait to be destroyed and retreated. By that time, he was already pinched from both sides in his forest belt and had a narrow 50-meter wide neck across a ravine with a stream at the edge of the landing to retreat. A little later, it became known that at night through the stream in the ravine at the edge of the plantation tried to jump out a few units of the enemy on them. Guys fired from a machine gun and destroyed them. When I was a kid, I worked as a delivery boy, but I grew up and the skills stayed. Anvar's fighters had a glorious hunt in Bogodikov district of Kharkiv region. Earlier I told you in the video that Bogodikov is not a simple town. There are enough military targets, training centers of the Ukrainian armed forces and training centers of the Ukrainian armed forces soldiers. In addition, through the city, which has a railway station, the enemy is transferring forces and means both to Kharkiv and Sumy regions. Another of the logistics chains of the militants in the city is the Kharkiv-Sumy highway. We are observing the integrated work of strike UAVs and artillery, Anvar. On the first shots, the fighters sent a couple of artillery-guided missiles, Krasnopoli, on the enemy's UAV. No drone sorties are wasted. Reconnaissance is in the air day and night. Among the uncovered targets are platoon strongholds of the Ukrainian armed forces and communication centers. The enemy simply does not have a notional and safe rear area. Operational situation in the South Donetsk direction. Northwest of the village of Otradnoy, an UAV of the 37th Independent Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade destroyed a Max Pro. In addition, to the west of the Bogodar settlement, a Kozak UAV was destroyed by an attack drone team of Ashurian warriors, and the rotation of Ukrainian armed forces personnel was disrupted. The Su-34 crew of the 11th Guards Air Force and Air Defense Army of the Vostok Group, using FAB-500s from the UMPK, struck enemy positions in one of the forest belts near the village of Zelenoy Pol.
Я стрелок штурмового отряда с позывным «Огород». Нашей группе была поставлена закрепиться на окраине населенного пункта Торск, с чем мы успешно справились.
Fiery onslaught. Attack aircraft of the 67th Motorized Rifle Division of the 25th Army are advancing on the northern outskirts of Torskoy. A warrior with the call sign, Agorod, revealed the details of the task. With the support of attack UAVs, our forces hit the enemy positions, leaving them no second to react. The group knocked the enemy out of 2 strongholds with a lightning-fast rush and confidently gained a foothold on the outskirts of the settlement. The AFU lost a Fennec reconnaissance vehicle in the Kursk region. The footage shows the destroyed Fennec reconnaissance vehicle. A rare beast. Officially, it was stated that only 9 such vehicles were delivered from the Netherlands. Before that, the Defense Ministry published footage of this Fennec being hit by several kamikaze drones, after which Ukrainian soldiers abandoned it. The BRM can be armed with a variety of machine guns and automatic grenade launchers. Some modifications are carriers of ATGMs. BM-21 Grad MLRS calculations of paratrooper artillerymen destroyed an accumulation of Ukrainian armed forces infantry in the border areas of the Kursk region. On the Seversk direction by strikes of fiber-optic FPV drones, KVN destroyed another 122mm self-propelled artillery installation 2S1 Gvozdika, soldiers of the Ukrainian armed forces. The Russian army has hit an Iskander missile at an AFU command post in the Kursk border region. A precise strike of a Russian missile tore to shreds a command post of the Ukrainian armed forces in the border area of Kursk region. Russian fighters knew about the enemy's location thanks to intelligence data. The Iskander's arrival killed 15 commanders of the 22nd AFU Me Brigade, the Russian Defense Ministry said. The elimination of the officers significantly weakened the enemy unit and brought the liberation of the Kursk land closer. The footage shows a BM-27 Uragan combat vehicle taking up a firing position. In a matter of minutes, the crew is deploying the system and preparing for launch. The operators act precisely, according to a well-tried algorithm, aiming, entering the target coordinates, and checking the armament. This is followed by a powerful salvo. A characteristic feature of the Uragan is its high rate of fire and powerful salvo. The launcher is capable of firing the entire ammunition set of 16 rails in a matter of seconds. That's all, dear friends. Subscribe to the channel, put likes, and don't forget to click on the bell to not miss new episodes. Leave your comments. Your opinion is very important to us. See you soon.